Hi, this is Yesha, and welcome back to Beautifully Chaotic. When I told my sister that I'm recording this video on my Museum of Failures, she was like, "Why do you want to record it?" And I told her because as society, we are really averse to the idea of failing. I don't think anything's wrong in failing, and all my life I thought I have failed in these aspects that I'm going to mention, but I don't think anything's wrong in that. I want to do this because I did not have anyone to tell me that it's okay. So here I am talking about it openly, as the intention is with this channel, that I'm going to be really open about things that are sort of stigmatized in our society and people don't have the guts to share, but I will. It's not easy for me either. It takes a lot of courage to come out of the world and tell them I have failed, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for my inner child. I'm going to do this for all the people in the world who feel like they don't have anyone to tell them that it's okay to fail. Number one, engineering. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I am an engineer turned writer. I did 4 years of BTech in electronics and telecommunications. And in the second year, I realized this is not for me. I'm not meant for this, but I didn't know what else I would do with my life. So I just thought, might as well, get it over with. And in the fourth year, I was applying for masters in cybersecurity in the US. I got into a couple of universities. And fortunately, at the same time, my friend saw that there's a company who's hiring for an associate editor, and she was like, I think you should go for it. I went for it, I got selected, and that's how I ended up segueing into the content industry. How do I feel about the segue? Great. I feel amazing. It's what I'm doing right now is much better than what I would have ideally done had I pursued cybersecurity or anything related to engineering. So no regrets there. But I do feel like maybe I wasted 4 years of my life. The way I console myself is by saying that it's okay. You might not have gauged technical skills, but you've definitely gained a lot of soft skills. And I'm like, maybe वो तो कोई और यूनिवर्सिटी में भी हो जाता. I have an engineering degree that's sitting in my cupboard, is of no use, and till date my dad sort of tells me that, do you want to maybe look for a job in engineering? And I don't know. I think like I failed to make my parents, particularly my father, understand that it's not much about the degree as it is about my inability to be a good engineer. I feel like I'm a terrible engineer. I feel like I am better off as a writer. I don't think I would even do justice in an engineering job. And so that's my first failure that I can. That's sort of a huge failure for me because that's like your base, that's your foundation. And yeah, the good thing is I didn't quit engineering. Oh my goodness, I met some amazing people during engineering. I think one of the pleasant memories I have of engineering college is, if anyone's watching from, by the way, engineering college, any from my classmates or friends, do you guys remember एक slope हुआ करता था second floor पे, and हम लोग बंक करके वही स्लोप पे बैठते थे या फिर लंच स्लोप पे करते थे. I still have that friend. He's a really good friend of mine. Him and I, we always talk about engineering and how beautiful those days were and how unnecessarily we were stressing about passing and marks and placement and all of that. But I also met really shitty professors. I'm sorry, I should not be saying this, but they genuinely were so bad, like so bad. I remember this one professor vividly telling me, because I was very active in terms of extracurricular activities. In the second year, I was a part of the literature council, and then the third year, the technical council. And so she obviously noticed that. And during one of our vivas, I couldn't answer a particular question. And she was like, stop doing these extracurricular things. It's of no use. Focus on your studies and focus. And I'm like, this is mental. Like, I'm in engineering college. I'm a full grown adult. I'm like 19, 20 at this point. And then you're telling me to not focus on extracurricular and focus on study. Like, where did it get me? You tell me, ma'am, where did it get me? Nowhere. I'm a writer anyway. And even if I did, like, I don't reckon that freaking vibe would have gotten me anywhere in life. But I think that's a topic for another day. But yeah, engineering. This one's very personal. I still sort of haven't overcome the loss and the sorrow, I guess. But moving back from London, I never thought I was going to London in the first place. But coming back from London was something no one prepared me for. In a lot of ways, I still carry that sorrow with me, and I don't think it's ever going to go away from me. I know the only way, like right now, I think I have a good balance of how I can express my love for that city and at the same time live a life in India. I tell myself that you will be capable enough to take yourself to London every summer, and you're going to spend those 2 3 months in London and explore Europe, and you're going to do, and I'm going to bloody do that. I'm going to work so hard and make sure that every summer I end up being in London. I don't care how, but I think that's my way of balancing my love for that city at the same time approaching pragmatically the situation that I am. Number 3, I feel like I am a major disappointment to my parents because I grew up being the good girl, and now they get to see the side of me which is not intentionally a rebel, but it's just how I am. Especially when I'm almost 27 and they think of me a certain way, marriageable age, I guess, I don't know. So I actively make it a point that I let them know this is what I think about life. This is how I want to lead my life. I do not care what society expects of me, but this is how I'm going to lead my life. And that I feel like has brought about a lot of conflict, a lot of friction between my mom and dad and myself. And I do feel like there's always like a tinge of not regret or guilt, but just disappointment that maybe I'm disappointing them. But I know for a fact that that's the good girl talking in me. If I have to stand up for myself, I feel like I'm doing a great job. And I think most of our arguments are really about how I perceive marriage. And I have been very vocal about not getting married. I have no interest in getting married. I have no interest in bearing kids. I have no interest in being a mother. That's something they can't wrap their heads around, and that's okay. They come from a completely different generation. And one of my biggest arguments whenever they tell me that, so and so told us that they have a suitor for you, and I'm like, I don't care. Why don't you just let them know that she's not interested, she doesn't believe in getting married? And they're like, but we can't tell that to people. I'm like, why can you not? Why can you not just tell people that our daughter does not believe in getting married? I understand their plight, but I just feel like, just say it like once and for all in this tone. If you tell this to people that she does not believe in getting married, they will leave you alone. I feel like after a point you have to tell people in the tone they understand, but whatever. So they tell me that that's not how it works, they care about you. And I'm like, no, they don't care about me. The only thing they care about is sustaining patriarchy. That is all they care about. And so that's my biggest argument. And then they are like, but no, they're always a part of our happiness. And I'm like, that's not the point. Are they ever a part of your sorrow? And that's when they go mute. And I'm like, see, you have the answer. If they are not a part of your sorrow and happiness, you don't deserve to have them in your life, and you do not have to listen to their crap. And I feel like because there's such a strong stance, there's always an argument. And I feel like they're obviously in their 50s, and I should not be so, strong and tightly wound. Number 4, consistency. I have been very inconsistent with a lot of things in my life. If I start a new routine, I don't follow it for more than a week, and that's not intentional. Again, that's just how things are. And then I remember asking my therapist, do you think that's just ADHD? And I try and justify it, and my therapist told me, you don't have to justify it, you just have to face it. Enough with the justification, just face the problem, face the fact that you are inconsistent about a lot of things, and we'll work around that, rather than justifying that, oh, you are inconsistent because of ADHD, so now we work on the ADHD rather than the inconsistency. So inconsistency has been a major part of my personality, and I'm trying to work on it. I feel like inconsistency has also overspilled in other aspects of my life. For example, I started working in 2021. I've been working since then, and I don't think I've been in a single job for more than 8 months. And that speaks a lot about inconsistency. And I hate doing that. I'm not doing it intentionally. Just like, I don't know how. Things just happen in a certain way that I end up being inconsistent. And this year is really different for me because I'm trying things differently. I'm trying really hard. I'm pushing myself to the brink, and I'm doing it for the best. I feel like if I have to break that pattern, I'll have to do things differently, and that's what I'm doing. But I feel like inconsistency has majorly impacted me in a lot of ways where I feel like I'm a failure, and it has also reflected in my finances, in my overall independence and stability. And that sort of has built a belief in life that any good thing that happens never stays with me for too long. And so that leads to a lot of control issues, like holding things, clinging on to things really tight, so tight that they just slip out of your hand. Wow, quite an epiphany. I don't know what had gotten into me last night, but I started browsing through all my mark sheet and certificates right through childhood. And one thing I noticed was every semester remark had two things that were very consistent. One was she's a really good dancer and she's very disciplined. Everything else fluctuated. My English was bad, I was bad at computers, I was bad at mathematics. Everything was satisfactory, needs improvement, whatever. But two things that really stayed consistent, and this I'm talking from nursery up until I think 7th or the 8th grade. She's a good dancer, she's very disciplined. And there was another thing that was pretty consistent, which is also stayed the same, which was she needs to socialize more, which I don't think I've cracked yet. I feel like these are three things I think I should hold on to and work towards. A lot of people are born with certain gifts. I think I'm born with that gift of dancing. I really hate it. And I genuinely hate myself to the core for not putting much emphasis on dance. I'm very grateful to my parents for making me dance for 7 years at a stretch. It's my responsibility now as an adult to consciously and in the most sincere manner, like in the most, like, just worship dance, worship that passion and follow it so intensely that there's no other option in life. My life is falling apart. The one thing that stays with me is my dance and my discipline. With discipline, it reminds me that I've always wanted to live an army kind of life. I always loved the idea of waking up early, and I know I have it in me. I have it in me to wake up early and follow that lifestyle, but I'm just so insanely tired, exhausted mentally, emotionally, physically, of repeating the patterns and just living in this loop. And I know this is not an excuse, but that's the reality. I'm not gonna shy away from talking about those things. I think dance is like my biggest failure. Of all the things that I'm mentioning or have mentioned, I think dance is like my biggest failure, and I really I'm gonna badger myself for not being consistent with dance. To end it, two things here. One of the things I feel like I lack is maybe I'm too sensitive. I feel like maybe I'm too sensitive for the world. Maybe I'm not meant to be. I don't belong here. I do feel that I'm too sensitive and maybe I'm too much. Yeah, simply put, I feel like I'm too much. And the last bit, I hate admitting it, but I think as humans we all feel like that. I fear being lonely. Yeah, I do fear being lonely because I have been a very lonely girl all my life. But especially now, I feel very lonely and I fear being alone. I hate the idea of sleeping on my own and not having anyone next to me because I'm so used to my sister sleeping next to me. Yeah, I hate that. And also the fact that I don't have many friends. I said it. Not that I don't have friends, but I don't have friends that I can talk to at the end of the day and be like, आज पता है क्या हुआ? Or तेरे को पता है उसने ये किया, उसने वो. I really don't, and I wish I did. I do have friends in other capacity, but I do not have friends. And another failure, I hate to admit it, but again, another failure was meeting this really cool girl in London. We shared a flat together, but because of a miserable fucking fraud prick of a man, we didn't turn out to be that good of friends as we could have because of him. And I really thought that I'd genuinely found a good friend in her, and she was a great friend, I guess, and we really were vibing. And I wish things didn't end the way they did. And we are not even acquaintances now. The last time we spoke was about last year. She was the one who introduced me to Faiz Ahmad Faiz. She gave me this book of shairis, and I kid you not, I finished that book overnight. And she brought so much perspective into my life, and she was like a girl's girl, and I really enjoyed her company, and I really thought I had a good friend in my life. But again, a man decided to ruin things, and things didn't end up very well. Those were my failures, and this was my museum of failures.